we are asking Article 4 consultations in NATO.
Well, joining me live now is Stephen Fish. He is a professor of political science at the University of California, Berkeley, and an expert on Russia, and has met President Putin. Thank you very much for your time this morning here on BBC News. Do you think this was a deliberate act by Russia? And if you do, would it have been sanctioned by President Putin?
Of course, it was a deliberate act. Of course, it was Putin's decision. What Putin is doing is trying again to kind of push out the bounds of what the world sees as permissible. He commits kind of outrage after outrage. And then when the West doesn't respond strongly, kind of pauses, and then he commits the next outrage. And then we become accustomed to what he's doing. And what he's doing is both flexing his power in the world. He looks like a very strong leader, while the West kind of recoils and doesn't respond to these things. And he's also testing Western resolve. And so far, the West is failing that test.
So how do you expect NATO to respond now? Estonia has said it wants talks with its alliance allies.
Let's ask ourselves what Russia would do if MiG fighter aircraft from the United States or another NATO country flew deep into Russia's airspace, turned off the transponders, had no connection with anybody on the ground, and went halfway into Russia. Which is pretty much what these MiGs did in Estonia. Estonia's a small country. They covered a lot of territory in 12 minutes. What would Putin do? Would he call an urgent meeting of his allies to discuss the problem? Would he issue a strong statement condemning it? Or C, would he shoot down the airplanes? He would shoot down the airplanes. And that would be an entirely defensive reaction. Look, at some point, NATO is going to have to realize that another sanction on this or that Russian company is not going to dissuade Putin. He is getting more rather than less aggressive over time. He is betting that NATO and Western countries in general are led by cowards. And he's betting that people in Europe and the United States are so risk averse and so addicted to comfort that they're not willing to take chances to protect their very own security. And again, so far, he is proving to be right.
And is that partly because he thinks President Trump won't do anything? He said he's not happy, but realistically, what could President Trump do?
Well, President Trump could head a strong NATO alliance. And the United States and the rest of NATO countries could basically blow the Russians out of Ukraine in about 48 hours if they decided to do so, without even entering Russian airspace. That would be a strong action. That's the kind of thing NATO perhaps should have done several years ago. He could also just, join with the rest of NATO allies and try to put forward a strong front. The problem is, Trump is much more interested in being Putin's friend and in kind of joining Putin's autocracy international as a junior partner than standing up for America's force multiplying alliances that have served world peace in the United States so well. Putin knows that Trump is on his side. At the very least, Trump will never stand up to Putin. We know that very well. Obviously, that complicates things for European leaders, but it also means that they have to be extra strong, extra united in facing down the Russian threat.
Stephen Fish from the University of California, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.